know, I just wanted to make sure she's doing her job up there. Hi, I'm so happy to be here because I work for an industry where work is work and play is play, and sometimes you can't tell the difference. The only problem with that is we are a 24/7 industry. So basically we put together just a brief presentation based on the breakout sessions, economic development, workforce development, and tell you a little bit about our industry as it relates to those topics. So workforce development in our view is, recruiting and retaining employees is one of our top challenges. You'll see a chart that you'll see the chart in a few minutes about how we measure every year what our top 5 challenges are. Most of the statistics that I say today will be coming from the National Restaurant Association, the NRA, that will be the restaurants, not rifles, and American Hotel and Lodging Association, as well as the U.S. Department of Labor and Training or the local labor training. I don't have a lot of stats here, but some of those that are up there, most of them are coming from those places. So we find that 1/3 of hospitality workers get started in our industry. They have their first job with us. And 50% of them end up staying with us. Our industry has a lot of facets to it, and so as a result, people can get trained in many, many, many disciplines and take that with them wherever they go. The interesting part about our industry, we have a lot of people that work in other industries and then work for us part-time because they can earn some good money, particularly if they're working on nights and weekends. However, one of our biggest challenges, once again, is finding qualified and reliable employees. They need to have the skills necessary. Gone are the days when somebody walks in the door and puts a finger on the pulse and says you're hired. We are a high-skilled industry these days. Technology, and also you are very sophisticated consumers. You expect a lot when you come in to partake in any form of our industry. Your expectations have increased year over year. So as a result, we have a lot of training that goes on, which I'll talk about in a moment. So I talked about the top challenges facing hospitality operators. And, government's always in there, but if you look back on 15, government was on the top. But this year, and recruiting employees was last year and again in 2017. Again, I'm going to say it over and over, is employee training. Our emphasis this year through our education department is training more and more people. We've trained thousands of people last year in 2017, and our goal with our staff is even to increase that. We're finding that operators also are wanting more private training for their own individual, whether it be restaurant, hotel. They hire us to take a nodule of training that we created, but personalize it for them, because some of them are different. For instance, we just did an Asian restaurant. We had to go meet the staff, interview the staff, and then do a deliverable that at least everyone understood. We wanted to make sure we knew how much English they understood and if we needed to bring in a translator. I mean, that's specific when we go in and do the training. Regulations. We have this chart in our office. It's one of those big poster things about all of the regulations that hit on our industry. We're very heavily regulated. Sometimes it's hard because we are so heavily regulated, and I don't think this is only our industry, that people don't know. They don't know what they don't know in some cases. That's my job, to make sure that everybody gets out there and learns everything they need to know about the industry. Hence why this is so important for us when we come to the regulatory meeting, is to talk about some of the things and the challenges that we're having about even getting the word out. I saw Neil Downing here. Where are you? I mean, that's what I want to do. Neil, since you've been there, you've been sending out these bulletins so that at least it keeps us up to date, and then we send them out and feed everybody. It makes people at least knowledgeable about what's affecting them. I know if you're not already on that list, get to Neil and get him to send it to you. I mean, there are days, Neil, when I can only take so many, but I'm serious. I think it's the best thing that we've had, and a lot of regulators are doing that. Let me give you an example of a regulation that was on the book, but that was not enforced, but yet someone got in trouble about it on insurance. So let me lay it out to you. So we had a regulation on the book that said you could not serve alcohol on a Sunday until 12 noon. How many of you have gone for Sunday brunch and had a Bloody Mary before 12 noon? Yeah, and those of you who don't want to raise your hand, I've seen you. So. regulation, and it's modern day, right? So we went to ORR. Where is Eric? Eric Godwin. Said, Eric, we need help. And so between he and Department of Business Regulation, they helped us work this regulation through, and so that we could serve legally. And let me tell you why that was important. You all have insurance of some type? Have you ever read all your insurance policies from beginning to end? Come on, tell the truth. Okay. If there was something that happened, and even though the regulation was not enforced, the insurance company has the right not to pay the claim. There's a lot of that happening. And so we're reviewing a lot of the regulations, especially as it relates, we have alcohol and other, partying, and we don't want to be in that place. So everything, we have Sarah Brecko from my team that's been, she loves her research, she's our attorney on staff, and we're looking at everything. We're looking at everything that could possibly hurt us at some point in time. I won't even get into marijuana. I won't. But, here's a sample of some of the federal regulations that we have, and the next page is a sample of some of the state regulations. Like I said, we keep track of them. We put them on this big poster board just for an effect. When people see, what? All those, I bet you all of you have similar things you can put together in a large format. We carry those poster boards around wherever we can to let people know. How about if you put in a regulation and you take two away? And that's why we're reviewing, and I'm so happy that this happens every year, reviewing existing legislation and regulations as well as some possible new ones. So on the economic development side, you probably have seen a lot of news about us, being, a funky city, being, how these four East Coast cities are attracting millennials. Providence named the coolest city in the U.S. by GQ. That's because of all the guys in the room, just saying. Millennials in the restaurant industry. So we do drive some economic development. Our industry does bring in international attention to our state. And construction, well, we know we've got a lot of hotels. There are 12 hotels in the planning stages right now. I don't know how many of them will actually have shovel in the ground throughout the state, but there are people that we're talking to about some building of hotels. And as you probably have seen, this one already started, two already started in Providence, and hopefully a few more will hit the shovel will hit the ground. When we tie it to economic development, when you're trying to attract a company to the state, they want to see what the vibe is in our state. And so companies move to where they know they're going to get good employees, and that employees are going to stay, and that they have a good life here. And so hopefully our industry adds to that. And what everyone is talking about is keeping millennials in the state. It's hard. And making sure that we have opportunities for them. And that's one of the things we do a lot of training on as well. They want to live where they have unique and independent and most importantly, great food options. And then there's taxes and budget. So here's my statistics. Hospitality industry generates $215 million in sales tax for the state. The meals and beverage tax alone generates $26.3 million to the cities and towns. That extra percent you get from the 7%, that goes to the city and town in which it's collected. I didn't bring the chart, but it's pretty significant for many cities. And it doesn't matter what the amount is. Each city, if it's a small amount, it's still extra monies that they do get in their coffers. The hotel tax generates $19.6 million to the state and $4.4 million to the cities and towns. So again, our industry is spreading the wealth. Hotels and some restaurants oftentimes pay the highest property taxes in their communities. There are several communities, when we look at the tax rolls, our hotels are paying the highest property tax. And, when we look and help people, and Mark can certainly attest to this, despite all these numbers, the average profit for a restaurant is under 4%. Now, Mark deals with these numbers. The good news is we are also an economic generator, because every dollar spent, it creates an additional $2 for the industry and in other related industries. We have to have purveyors that provide to us that would not be in existence if we weren't in existence. The meat supplier that supplies only to the industry. and Main Street issues. We have 2,798 eating and drinking places and 170 hotel properties in this little state. 90% of our restaurants have fewer than 50 employees. So I think we're considered pretty much small business. And we have 80,000 Rhode Islanders that are employed in our business. These numbers came from Commerce RI. So it's making us one of the top 5 industries in the state. And by 2027, that number is projected to grow by another 6.4%. We're here today, and half of the U.S. restaurants are owned or co-owned by women. So hence, yes, perfect. And 40% are majority owned by minorities. Restaurant ownership between 2007 and 12 found a 51% increase in Hispanic-owned restaurant business and a 49% increase in African-American-owned restaurant businesses. Some of our issues: access to capital. That's why Mark and I are on speed dial with each other. Both short and long term, it's always remaining a challenge. And a lot of times, it's not a lot of money that they need. Sometimes I feel it's harder to get $50,000 than it is to get $1 million. And so, hence we work closely with Mark and other bankers on having access to capital. Rising costs are, and there's only so much balance. As everybody knows, the more you cost to run your business, you've got to take something away. And that's the challenge that we're working on, and my board is working on. Healthcare, major cost to the hospitality industry. We are working, we do have a program now with United Healthcare, and we'll be kicking that off very shortly. So, emerging markets, my last slide is, you've heard the word disruptor. Everywhere you read something, it's a disruptor. I don't know that I like that term, but that's what it is. I always say it's a nudge, to get you to be a little sharper. But you've heard of Airbnb. You've heard of, like even food trucks, about the challenge of them parking in front of a restaurant, right? Or, now we're dealing with third-party delivery systems and a bunch of other things. So one of the issues that we look at is look at all of those new people coming in, new types of businesses coming in, and see how we can all work together instead of against one another. And one of the things that happened last year, 2 years ago, is that the governor put in her budget to at least tax some of the Airbnbs in order to make a little bit of a level playing field with the hotels. But there are a lot of other issues. These were the main ones that we took from the topics of today's event. I mean, everyone is impacted by wage increases. It doesn't matter what industry it is, because it's not the wage increase, it's what happens after the fact of that. Because once you bring somebody a certain wage, anybody earning that wage would want the same elevation as well. The thing is, it's all about how much money you have and how much you can pass on to the customer. So one of my members the other day said he had a woman yelling at him because he raised one of the items on his menu, and this is a middle kind of restaurant family, 25 cents. And she goes there every Monday and gets the same thing. And he said, I have no choice. And the customer was very mad at the owner. And then when the owner explained why he had to do that, she got it. Now, I'm more concerned about all the stories out there, the old fake news about this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. I happen to work for a very resilient industry. They're going to figure it out if they can. Only if they can, honestly, because I've already seen a few changes that people are making. And, when somebody says that, they're going to go robotics, I'm in an industry that's high touch and high tech. Yeah, we'll find some types of things that we can use technology for, but I don't know the answer to that, because we're seeing the fallout in other places, because it's not only that, as you well know, the trickle down of every other cost that's associated with that. One thing I didn't mention, which brought to mind that, Davies, we have, Sarah, is it 9 high schools now, or 10 high schools? That we have a core curriculum in there. We provide the curriculum, we even provide a grant if they cannot afford the full curriculum, and it's books. It's called ProStart Culinary and Management. And Davies was my poster child last year. We had 27 students in our class. We've been doing this for 30 years. It's been kind of quiet, but it's now starting to build up because we realize we have to go into the pipeline earlier to start training our employees. As a matter of fact, in 2018, we're going to start in the middle school. But in the high schools, we had 27 young people in our program. 27 of those students graduated. 27 of them are going on to higher education. Not all in food service, by the way. And here's the good part. 27 of them got scholarships to continue on their education. This is from my industry. People put hands in their pockets and said, okay, these are our future employees. We want to take care of them. So there's so many moving parts, Paul. I don't know how to answer that question, and because I don't know, it's like a crystal ball. I don't know.